Hi everyone. Oh, I'm so bad at doing videos lately, but I love doing them and I love YouTube, even though I'm an English teacher and I should blog probably, but I just like to do the videos. So I wanted to give you a quick update, and then I wanted to share my story with you of my natural birth with my first baby girl, Giselle, because I've never really shared it in detail. I am starting week 24. I was 23 weeks yesterday. Feeling pretty good, and I'm trying to get better nutrients in because I wasn't doing so good the last little while with holidays and stuff. Still stayed vegan, but just, junk vegan food. So trying to eat better and trying to really get that good sleep in before it gets really uncomfortable in the third trimester. With Giselle, I had an all-natural birth in the hospital. So I was nervous just how things would go. It was my first time, so I wanted to be in the hospital. And so I just had to make sure I told them that I didn't want anything. And I went in with the attitude of, okay, if I didn't want to beat myself up. And I thought, if I want an epidural, so be it. But I had trained and prepared myself mentally otherwise, in hopes that I would not need one, that I'd be okay. I did tons of research. I watched tons and tons of videos of ladies having babies at home and at birth centers and in hospitals, and I watched documentaries about natural birth versus hospital birth. So it took a lot of thinking and debating and analyzing for me, and that's how I am. And I'm an English teacher, so I researched the crap out of everything. And I had to make sure it was something I really wanted to do. I had grown up with a fear, like a huge fear of birthing a child. And so my whole childhood I thought it was just a scary, most painful, awful thing. And so I avoided it, and I just thought I would get an epidural, and I was really scared to even get pregnant all through my 20s, but I still tried for a while. We tried for 7 years before we did IVF. So something that just totally freaked me out. And my mom always just said, yeah, like it's because her epidurals wouldn't work. She only had one that worked. So she had hers pretty much naturally in the hospital, but she just said, yeah, it's painful, but it's worth it. And she was like back in like the 90s when they always did episiotomies like standard, so that like freaked me out when I learned about that. So yeah, I just had all kinds of misconceptions about it. So I'm kind of like surprised and proud of myself that I was able to do it natural. I did not do it natural to like prove, I just want to put this out there so everyone knows, I didn't do it so I could like prove my womanhood or like say that I'm stronger or better, or like it had nothing to do with that, like nothing. It purely had to do with the research I did and the benefits that I saw that I felt like I could reap from doing it all natural. I interviewed like so many moms, like relatives, asked them what they did. The documentary that really got to me was The Business of Being Born, and then I read Hypnobirthing, the Mongram Method. So those are my two big sources, other than that I just looked all over the place at other things. And that really changed my perspective, that what I had grown up with. And I had just always viewed childbirth as like more of like a medical event and something where I could die or the baby could die. And I mean, granted, yeah, those things are possible, but that's just how I viewed it, was like this awful event. Doing my research, I kind of I more so agreed with the idea that, that I was meant to do this. Like my body was like designed to do this, and that I don't think God would have made it possible for me not to be able to do it naturally if I wasn't capable of it. That sounds kind of weird. But I just thought, this, like, this is meant to be. Like, I should be able to do this. And yeah, there's those high risk women, or if you have multiples, there's always exceptions, but I'm very low risk, and there was nothing I could lose from this, I didn't think. So here's how it all went down. So my water broke at about 11 p.m. on May 17th, 2016, and I called Steve because he was just finishing up basketball. He was playing basketball that night, and told him, and I stayed pretty calm. I made sure that it was actually water breaking. I smelled my pants and my underwear, and I was like, yeah, it's water. Make sure it's not pee. And he got home fairly quick, and I already had my hospital bag packed because I was 4 days past the due date, so everything was ready to go. And we started driving to the hospital. Steve stopped to get food because he was worried that he'd be there all night, and I had anticipated that too. I thought, well, the first labor is pretty long, usually. So he stopped and got food, and I remember when he stopped at McDonald's. Gross, but and he was getting food, and I was sitting in the passenger seat, and I could already tell that the contractions were getting strong and close already at that point. They were already happening pretty close. So, but I still was really calm, and I think that was from reading all my hypnobirthing stuff. So we went and checked in at the hospital, and they took me back, and they checked me, and they said, you're at a 4, and I was like, okay, awesome. And the week before that, my doctor had said that I was at a 3, which we all know is not like, those numbers aren't that important. The nurse that started me said, well, we can get you started on some Pitocin if you want to speed it up, which I thought was weird because it's not like I wasn't progressing and my water was broke, and that's fine. That's just probably standard. And I said, no, I'm good. I'm good. And so they did put the IV in me still, just, as a precaution in case they need to start anything. So I had the IV in the whole time. And then it was weird, like time went by slow but fast. And so 11 p.m. is when my water broke and contractions started shortly after. But then Giselle was out by a little bit after 3. I think it was 3:06 in the morning. And I just remember being in the hospital room and just taking it one contraction at a time. And because you have the little breaks in between, I think that's what made it kind of just bearable for me. I didn't go into some hypno trance where I didn't feel anything. I still, felt everything. But I never felt at one point that I was going to die. And I never felt like it was so unbearable that I couldn't go on. And maybe that's because it was pretty short too. Some women labor a long time, and I was very fortunate to have my water break and for it to be short. So, I was able to move around the room if I wanted to. And I had a lot of times where I just had Steve push on my knees, where you just sit, and I would show you, but I'm in a weird position, where you'd sit and push on my knees so that my legs are pushing against my hips. And that was really helpful to relieve some pressure. And then I did flip over so that I was on my knees on the bed, and I used the back of the bed to hold on to. And those were some of the most effective contractions I had. I could just tell, she was dropping down. So those were amazing positions for me to do. They had a tub. They said I could get in, but they said I couldn't birth her in there. So I was weary to get in because I didn't want to I didn't want to be I want to stay in here and not get out and then have to get out the last. So yeah, I remember listening. I brought an iPod and earbuds, and I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to music and my playlist already. But it wasn't really a good environment for it, just because of all the beeping and the monitors and people coming in and out, and it was kind of distracting. So I feel like I didn't use all the hypnobirthing techniques I learned, but I feel like that really helped me just to stay in a good state of mind and to relax and to know what was coming in the different stages. So it got pretty intense at about 7 when I was dilated, sorry, to like a 7 or an 8, then it felt like that was probably the most intense. So then I remember turning over and sitting down on the bed, and they checked me, and they said I was ready to push, and I was like, wow, like that kind of went by fast, like. So they actually ended up coaching me and telling me how to push. And so that kind of went a little unexpected. Like, I had read about how to do it, and I thought I was going to do it how I wanted, but then in the moment, it kind of just took control. And it wasn't awful, it was okay. They just did the typical, let's count to 10, have you push, and then stop, take a break, and then push. And I think it lasted for about 20 minutes, but I'm not really sure. I asked my husband, and he doesn't remember. Time is just weird when you're in labor and in the zone. So, I was always nervous about the pushing part, and then when it came down to it, it was not as intense or painful as the contractions, which was interesting to me. So pushing to me was not, like, I think in the movies they make that the most intense part, like, oh, I'm gonna die, and the lady's screaming. But honestly, that was when I was the most quiet, and I was just focused, and it really wasn't that bad. Giselle's joining me. Yeah, in the book I read, I thought I would be like breathing her down and just kind of easing her out, like slowly, like I would feel. Hold on. So yeah, I think I expected to feel this urge to push, and I never felt the strong urge that some women talk about. So I don't know if that was just because I really didn't, or if I wasn't ready and that the doctors just said, you're dilated to a 10, let's do it, and if it was more forced. So I'm not really sure about that, but it wasn't too bad. I had always been scared of just ripping, like that was my big fear of just like, and I did tear a little. That's pretty common. It's like very rare not to, and I understand that. So I tore a little bit. It wasn't bad. Got my stitches. Didn't even feel the stitches because everything else was so intense. But the minute I pushed her out, it was just like, it is the coolest euphoria that you and like high, like natural high, and it was awesome. It's indescribable. It's really cool. So, and I'd heard about this. This was one of the things that a lot of moms told me that had done the natural. They said that was really cool at the end. That surge of hormones that you feel. So and then they went to go put her on my chest, and she wouldn't reach because the umbilical cord was too short. So, you can't have a perfect birth plan, things just happen. Yeah, so they had to cut the cord and then put her on my chest. And she laid there and she whimpered for a little bit and cried, and it was really sweet. So it was really cool. That's why I plan on doing another natural birth with this baby number 2. So I'm really excited. So that's my story of my natural birth. If you guys have any questions for me, then I would love to hear your questions or comments. Sorry, she has the cold too. And I'm going to be doing another video of my birth plan for the second baby. I'll do that in a couple days, so I'll divide it up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear some of your guys' birth stories. I think they're so fun. I love hearing positive birth stories. I mean, we can hear the ugly ones too, but... What? But I think for new moms that have never had a baby, it's good to say positive stories, huh? Okay, we love you guys. Bye.